Well, good morning to you. Good morning to also you, Brenden Schaefer. This is Card Central Instant Reaction here on STL Sports Central. All of our content brought to you by DraftKings, where the crown is yours. And Brenden, here we are on a Tuesday morning because Sonny Gray has been traded to the Boston Red Sox. Move first reported by John Heyman as we sit here and look to see what the return on that is. But Brenden, this news broke 10 minutes, 12 minutes ago. What is your instant reaction to the news?
My instant reaction is that Heim is hitting the ground running. Like, we knew that the Cardinals were going to be in a situation where they wanted to shed salary. They wanted to set the stage for the rebuild, and moving Sonny Gray and the contract, I think, is certainly part of that. Now, we will see potentially while we're live here what the Cardinals are getting in return. But I think that the fact that they had this asset who had a no trade clause but had a willingness to be moved, and it happened so quickly in the offseason because the Cardinals, I think, were that dead set on trying to get rid of some salary. Kind of tells you what this offseason could look like for St. Louis. Now, hopefully the Cardinals got a nice piece or two back in return that Cardinals fans can be excited about. But when you had that big $40 million price tag remaining on Sonny Gray, $35 million for the year, and then a $5 million buyout of his option for 2027, that was a hefty price tag. And so the fact that it happened so quickly, Joe, tells me that the Cardinals and Chaim Bloom ownership, everybody is probably satisfied with the way that this goes down in terms of how much salary they had to eat, or maybe how much they didn't. Daniel on Facebook mentioning that happened faster than I thought it would. Yeah, me too, Joe. We never really got into like our expectations for who would be dealt first necessarily, but it would make sense that it would be Gray because of the three players with the no trade clauses, Sonny Gray, Wilson Contreras, and Nolan Arenado. I think Gray was the combination of the most willing to leave because Wilson kind of would like to stay, and also has some trade value, whereas Nolan Arenado's value probably pretty depreciated. So it would make sense that of the three, he would be the first one to go, and it seems like Chaim Bloom got to work very quickly, Joe, in making this happen.
Yeah, news coming out very quickly with this. We have our team working behind the scenes to get the tweets up, get any of the news up for you, as really a lot of this is happening as we are sitting here talking to you. And we're finding out a lot of this information.
This is good.
As you are, and passing it along. Ken Rosenthal tweets out, source confirms Sonny Gray traded from Cardinals to Red Sox, contract being reworked to a 1 year plus a mutual option. So the 2026 salary will be $31 million, a mutual option buyout of $10 million. So Gray essentially getting $41 million for 1 year. That's all, that's all the Red Sox. I was going to say problem. That's all the Red Sox. But issue, concern, money-wise, everything. For the Cardinals, they have cleared that is all of Sonny Gray's contract, it seems like, is going to the Red Sox.
Now, we will see, though, if the trade compensation includes the Cardinals sending any money to help them pay that down. But essentially what that amounts to for Sonny Gray, since this is the information we have at this point,
we have more. Hold on. Jeff Passan tweeting out right now. It's about to get put up on your screen. I will start reading it as it comes through. Full trade is Boston Red Sox receive Sonny Gray and cash. The Cardinals receive Brenden Clarke and Richard Fitts. So we will we'll get you all kinds of information on those two players as well. But that is what the trade is. It is Richard Fitts and Brenden Clarke coming back to the Cardinals.
Yes, and
both Fitts, I believe both of those guys. Let's see. Fitts pitched for the Red Sox last year.
I recall hearing his name for sure. Had 10 starts, 11 total games pitched, 45 innings last year, a 5 ERA. 40 strikeouts in 45 innings. He also was a major leaguer for a few starts the previous season for Boston. Had a 1.7 ERA in 20 innings that year. So for his big league career, it's just been a couple of years.
Brenden Clarke, a left-handed pitcher, was the Brenden Clarke, the fifth ranked prospect for the Red Sox, a lefty. Last year was A plus ball. His ETA for the major leagues is 2028. 6'4", 220-pound lefty for the Red Sox, and it looks like just a few weeks ago, the report on MLB Pipeline had an article on why Brenden Clarke could be a breakout prospect in 2026. I'm sure a lot from St. Louis will be made on that article today.
So Brenden Clarke, we'll try to do these one at a time. Brenden Clarke got up to high A ball this past year. Not great numbers necessarily, but good strikeout ratio. 43 strikeouts in 28 innings after he went from low A up to high A. He had great numbers in 3 starts at low A. But you think about a guy, former 5th-round pick of the 2024 MLB draft, 22 years old. He'll be in his age 23 season coming up. He'll turn 23 in April. A guy that'll probably start at high A, Peoria, but maybe if, things are looking great, he could get to Springfield. But when you think about the way that, and I'm not going to compare the two, but a guy like Trey Savage for the Blue Jays last year starts in A-ball and works his way all the way up until he's pitching in the World Series, right? That is what stuff can do for you. Brenden Clarke, just looking at the numbers purely, 43 strikeouts in 28 innings at high A last year, tells you, all right, he's a work in progress. He had a 5 ERA there, but the stuff clearly it has the ability to play. And so as he continues to develop, I think a perfect type of lottery ticket to be included in something like this if you're the Cardinals. And you mentioned Richard Fitts has a little big league experience. He's a right-hander. Brenden Clarke, a left-hander. 2 pitchers coming over for Sonny Gray. Fitts, as much as you might look at the numbers last year and say, well, kind of underwhelming for the 25-year-old, but had a 5 ERA in 45 innings, not quite a strikeout per inning, and started games. We're just talking about arms, Joe, because if you're trading away Sonny Gray and getting an arm back, I'm not saying that Richard Fitts is the bona fide rotation candidate for the Cardinals, but I bet he'll be in the conversation because it's just about having those types of arms. And frankly, the types of arms that you're not compelled to say, well, we've got nothing, so we have to rush Quinn Matthews to the big leagues if we're not sure that he's ready. We have to rush Liam Doyle to the big leagues if we're not sure he's ready. You just got some arms that you can throw at the situation, and 5 ERA may not be sexy, but it'll get you through. That's kind of the barometer for 2026. And for the Cardinals to have gotten a couple of arms, one's a lottery ticket, one's a guy that they'll plug right into either the rotation, the bullpen, you would figure in 2026. And Jeff Passan calling it the full trade. Did the Cardinals not have to eat any money here? Because if not, I think that's a huge win.
It says Sonny Gray and cash is going to Boston.
Okay, so that'll be the question. Is like how much? I was going to say there's just no way that the Cardinals weren't going to have to eat some money. Sonny Gray gets an extra $1 million. He was going to be owed $40 million between the 2026 contract and the buyout. It was 35 plus 5. Now they've reworked it. That's their business, as you said. 31 million plus 10 is now 41. So that's the carrot that Sonny Gray gets dangled just to accept a trade, which he was going to be willing to do anyway. Nolan Arenado got a similar carrot when he was traded to the Cardinals a number of years ago and added on that extra $15 million deal for 2027, if I'm not mistaken. So we'll see what the number of dollars is, Joe, that changes hands. I think that's the biggest thing to wonder here. But in terms of the return, and let us know, obviously, we'll try to get to some of these comments. Rock's throwing them up on the screen as we go. It seems like a pretty solid deal. I still think I would wonder how much cash is being eaten up by the Cardinals and how much they're having to send, simply because it could color what they'll do spending-wise in the rest of free agency. If it's a smaller number, well, that ends up being pretty favorable, and maybe Chaim Bloom and the DeWitts can get together and say, you know what, we could actually sign a free agent of some caliber in order to kind of backfill some of this. If not, if 2026 ends up being a year in which the Cardinals say, we're just saving money, guys, we're going to roll out what we've got, and Dick Fitts is going to be your number 5 starter, then that's going to be what it is. But either way, I think it's nice, I think, for Cardinals fans to have gone through 2025 and have seen it just be very stagnant and feel like we're not really getting started on the rebuild just yet. And then we're a few days into the offseason, and Chaim Bloom before Thanksgiving is already saying, look, we're going to set a direction for the types of moves we're trying to make to build this roster for next year. I think it's a good sign.
Yeah, it looks like a lot of folks from Boston in the chat chiming in their thoughts on you said it first. I was holding out Dick Fitz and Brenden Clarke coming back to St. Louis, and it's there. I mean, it's there. You got to take it. You got to say it. It's fine. And it's Brenden Clarke as somebody in the comments had mentioned as well, saying that was a guy who they were kind of looking out at and hoping to see big things out of, and he comes back. And we've mentioned before, Brenden, we did a show yesterday about how Nolan Arenado to the Red Sox made sense. And one of the big things we kept coming back to, and this is the same thing we kept coming back to at the trade deadline, is that who knows the Red Sox farm system better than Chaim Bloom. This is exactly. It is so fitting that this is the call to make it. And I would be shocked if Chaim Bloom at some point in these conversations didn't say, hey, what else you want? What else do you like here? And giving just the list of names and just saying, okay, hey, how's this guy fit in? How's that guy fit in? Or on the other side, Chaim Bloom going and saying, hey, I like these names that you have there. These are guys I wouldn't mind bringing over to St. Louis with me. How do we work a deal here?
Now, that being said, I don't know if it ended up being applicable in this trade because Clarke was drafted in 2024 after Chaim had departed. And I don't believe Dick Fitz made his way from the Yankees to the Red Sox until after Chaim was gone from there as well. I was trying to find the date on that. But nevertheless, I mean, I think you're definitely getting
December of 23.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're still getting the types of players that you thought you would for a Sonny Gray. And now truly the number is all I'm waiting to see on what the Cardinals are paying down. And really, if it's a big number, okay. If it's a small number, okay. It doesn't necessarily mean anything specific for 2026. My guess, though, would be that if the Cardinals are having to pay down lesser of the contract, there's at least more malleability. There's more malleability to keep Wilson Contreras, right, and not feel like you're missing a payroll target. There's more malleability to take an Arenado trade where you maybe do have to eat a little bit more cash. Because I would say that Gray didn't have to be dealt. And don't get me wrong, the Cardinals win total for 2026 went down today. Like, they're going to win fewer games because they don't have Sonny Gray. But that was part of the deal. We kind of already figured that was coming. But I do think that the Arenado move is one that still absolutely has to happen. It's nice that the Cardinals were able to use the leverage in the market and say, look, somebody wants Sonny Gray. And again, we'll see how much they were willing to pay to get him. But the Cardinals getting a couple of pitchers back. One of them is going to pitch in the big leagues next year. Dick Fitz will pitch for the Cardinals in the big leagues if he's healthy, because he threw big league innings each of the last 2 seasons. And this is going to be a pitching staff that when you look at it, you're going to say, yeah, there's room for guys who have that big league experience. It's the same thing that you had talked about earlier this week when we discussed John King. But the corollary there is John King was going to make a couple $1 million in arbitration. Richard Fitz is not arbitration eligible, right? He's going to pitch for basically the major league minimum this season, and it looks like his service time is very minimal. So he'll be a team controlled player for a number of years. And look, for what the 2026 Cardinals are going to be doing, I feel like rolling out 25 starts of a guy with a 5 ERA, that just might not be the end of the world. You're just trying to bridge the gap until a guy like Quinn Matthews is ready, as Sam mentions in the chat. You're just trying to cobble together a group that can get you by. And then hopefully that's really 2026 is the only year where we're talking about the Cardinals in those terms, because thereafter you're like, hey, Quinn Matthews is ready and he looks like he might be a guy. Liam Doyle is ready, and it looks like he might be a guy. I think this is the type of move that can help the Cardinals continue to kind of draw that out until they have some of these prospects, some of the guys that are going to be on the way here pretty soon, can be ready to join the rotation. Cardinals get Brenden Clarke, who Joe mentioned was rated relatively highly in the Boston prospect ranks, and Richard Fitz, who has some big league starting experience over the last couple of seasons. They give up Sonny Gray. They give up some cash. We'll see how much cash it ends up being, and that'll color our opinion of it a little bit further. But my sense, Joe, and trying to read some of the comments as they come in, it's 2 thoughts right now from folks. Dick Fitz is a hell of a name, and the Cardinals did pretty well here. I think that's largely the way that folks are viewing it. Is that fair for you? You think this is probably a nice move for the Cardinals?
I think the big part that I like about this trade is the thing that I've been harping on for the last several weeks of shows that you and I have done. And that is, you need arms at the big league level. You need arms that can pitch at the major league level, which, as you mentioned, was why you and I were arguing so much about the John King deal from Friday, because my thought process was John King is, it's like an adult in the room. Like, John King has pitched at the major league level. I don't care if it was good or bad. It was a guy that pitched at the big league level. Richard Fitz is a guy that has pitched at the big league level. Right now, I think as we sit here on November 25th, Richard Fitz is in the starting rotation for the Cardinals next season. He is
as of this moment.
As of this moment, yeah, I think that you look at that, and I don't know what moves you can make, though. That would be, I mean, this is a guy that pitched for a team that was a playoff contender last year, was in their rotation for 10 starts. Last season. So I don't know how you're going to do better. Like, right now, I would say Richard Fitz is a more capable starting pitcher in Major League Baseball today than a Kyle Leahy or a Quinn Matthews.
Well, and Quinn Matthews is going to be a prospect that comes along when he's ready. I don't think he'll be in the rotation to begin the season, especially if they don't have a spring where a bunch of guys get injured. I would say with Richard Fitz, like, you pencil him in for right now, but ideally this offseason includes you going out and getting 2 more of him, so that when you come to spring training, you've got a bunch of guys in that caliber who you're like, yeah, they could be in our rotation. But then you just get to see February and March play out, and you get to figure who's the best candidate for the job, because we still are trying to win baseball games here at the end of the day. So he is the exact type of player that you would have hoped for Chaim Bloom to go out and get. Joe, I would just say that the goal might be to get a couple more of them, because, again, you're clinging to John King. He was making $2 million. That was the only reason they cut him. They need a bunch of John King type guys in their bullpen and in their rotation, but guys that are making the minimum, guys that are not arbitration eligible. And they're going to find those guys, clearly. And I think Fitz fits the billing for exactly what that was going to be. As of today, if you were to press me and order the rotation, I'd say, Liberatore, McGreevy in some order at the top, and Palante's in there. Richard Fitz is probably in there. And Kyle Leahy, I think, would be in that conversation as well. Who am I missing? We're doing this on the fly. Is there a name that I'm not bringing up that I should be? I could have pulled the roster up before doing that. But that's what I think is this rotation is going to be. But is anybody looking at Andre Palante and saying, man, he's a great candidate. You've got to have him in there. You couldn't possibly, start your season without him in your rotation. No, not really. Are you saying that about Richard Fitz? No, not really. Am I intrigued to see Kyle Leahy? Yeah, I kind of am. So, but right now you've got 5 without having to dip into your prospects if none of them are ready to begin the season. I think it would be great to have 7, especially if they're just making Dick Fitz money, where it's like he's not even, it's to be major league minimum. They can continue as they make trades to maybe Arenado gets dealt and they bring in a guy that's got similar repertoire, similar numbers to him, and they can say, hey, come to spring. We're just going to have an open competition for the last couple of spots, 2-3 spots of our rotation, and the cream will rise to the top. That's going to make the 2026 Cardinals better than if you just said, yep, we'll stop at 5. Dick Fitz is number 5 and we're good here. Like, I still think Chaim Bloom is going to continue to push to acquire these types of arms and then allow for some internal competition to take place in spring.
Who amongst us wouldn't like to be making Dick Fitz money? Cardinal on the Cardinals.com website, if you go to the depth chart page, it says there in the rotation section, it still has Sonny Gray in there, obviously. Right. But it has Andre Palante, Michael McGreevy, Matthew Liberatore, and it has Kyle Leahy on the Cardinals website listed as the 5th starter in their rotation. So
put Dick Fitz right where Sonny was, and that's your 5 tentatively for the moment. But there's a long way to go in this offseason, which is great. Okay, so we've got this from Chris Cotillo. He covers the Red Sox for MassLive.com. Sonny Gray and $20 million to Boston for Brenden Clarke and Richard Fitz. Cardinals are paying, it was going to be 40. The Red Sox are kicking in an extra $1 million. The Cardinals are paying half. We never really knew exactly what that was going to look like, but I think if you imagined a player like Sonny Gray in free agency this offseason, would he make $20 to $25 million? trading on his name, trading on his 200 strikeout seasons, good durability the last couple of years, potential for, ace caliber stuff the way he's done previously in his career. Yeah, 20 to 25 million would have probably been his market value. The Cardinals are paying the 20 to make him go away, but they're getting a player back in Richard Fitz that could be pitching in their rotation for years to come. Who's to say he doesn't continue to improve as a player in his mid-20s and he's cost controllable, and they get a lottery ticket of a prospect? I think that's appropriate. The $20 million price tag as reported by Chris Cotillo for MassLive.com. I think that's right. I think that is a number that we kind of always said, what if they paid about half? And we didn't know, but we were doing these shows and talking about it, and that's what it ends up being. So I'd say a good deal for the Cardinals. I guess you would have hoped to maybe have it be a little less than that, but realistically, I like that the Cardinals paid $20 million. I'll tell you why. They could have done, I'm not saying this was an option for them, but had they done 10 or 15, I don't believe they would have gotten as much back in a trade return. I'm not saying that this was the internal conversation with the Red Sox, but you can imagine as they're negotiating this deal, the Cardinals like, well, we want Richard Fitz because we want to have somebody to plug into our rotation. And they're like, yeah, we don't really want to just give up a cost-controlled arm like that. I mean, we're paying Sonny Gray all this money. We're paying him $30 million, for goodness sake. And the Cardinals like, well, maybe you could pay him a little bit less. We'll send you some more money. Not saying that's how it went. I'm just walking through what the logic might have been for the Cardinals to say, Bill DeWitt. I mean, this is a big step. Bill DeWitt is paying a player to not play for the Cardinals. And in so doing, I think he acquired or allowed for his front office to acquire a pitcher that can go in their rotation, good, bad, or indifferent. I think that's where Fitz will fit. And then a guy that's a lottery ticket prospect that has a good swing and miss stuff that we've been talking about for how many years and haven't been able to find it with John Mozeliak at the helm. I think that's a nice deal for the Cardinals. I really do.
We will get to a lot of your comments here in just a minute, like this from Deadly St. Louis, saying 60-win season incoming. And if that's something that you think is true, well, starting on Monday in Missouri, you can bet on that using the DraftKings Sportsbook app, because December 1st is when sports betting is finally legal in the Show Me state. And we are telling you to get on to DraftKings Sportsbook because it's the America's top-rated sportsbook app. And if you get on there right now, use promo code STL Sports. When you make that first bet of $5, you will get $300 in bonus bets when we go live. That's code STL Sports. The crown is yours in partnership with DraftKings Sportsbook.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 and over. Physically present in Missouri. Eligibility and restrictions apply. Subject to regulatory licensing requirements. Bonus bets are non-withdrawable and expire 7 days after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos.
Joe Roderick, Brenden Schaefer with you here as we are breaking the news of Sonny Gray to the Boston Red Sox. As we showed you earlier on in the show, here are the details of that trade. Make it a little bigger for you and show you it there on the screen for those of you that are watching this live on YouTube, Twitter, or on Facebook on STL Sports Central, coming to you just 10 minutes after the trade was broken by John Heyman with the Card Central Instant Reaction Show. And it's something that we're going to be covering all day long for you on STL Sports Central. Randy Carricker coming up later on today. I'm sure he'll have plenty more to say about this as well. And Bernie Miklasz also writing, I would imagine, about this in the incoming days. And to read Bernie's stuff, jump on that STLSportsCentral.com and become an insider today to see Bernie's articles Tuesday through Friday each and every week. Brenden, I know you're reading over the comments as you sit there. Yeah. Anything jumping out at you in the comment section?
I got one. Jeff Norris asked if Sonny will make the most from the Cardinals in 2026 because they'll be paying him $20 million. There's a chance that's the case.
We will
I would
see.
Still say it's Arenado, honestly.
Right. And that's what you were pointing, how the way you were breaking it down after we saw what the return is, after we see all the details of this and the way that you were breaking this down with the money going back and the prospects. Yeah, if the Cardinals were to say, "Hey, Boston, you have to eat the full 41 million of this," then Boston would be like, "Cool, go screw yourself. We're not sending you anything." Like,
Right.
That's fine. We'll take this, but you're not getting anything back. This split right here, it really is a great trade because you get back the number 5 prospect in the Red Sox organization, plus a guy who is replacing Sonny Gray's arm in the rotation, not replacing his numbers, not replacing his production, but is somebody that will be able to take the ball every 5th day and start. And that is what you needed in this situation. You need arms to get you through the season, and Dick Fitz will do that for you.
Yeah. And I mean, how great is it that, you know what, the comment earlier about a 60-win season, Cardinals fans, if that's what you're getting, Chaim Bloom's like, I got you. You're going to have a guy named Dick Fitz on your team. So, like, I'm still going to give you something to be excited about, even if maybe it's not the win-loss record, which, again, I don't know, maybe it's a situation where he ends up pitching a little bit better than he did last year. And maybe Sonny Gray, I don't know, maybe pitches a little bit worse. Like, there's a potential for this to go really favorably for the Cardinals, even after watching 2026 play out. Like, I think Sonny Gray's still a good pitcher for sure, but he's going into that Boston market. That's a team that is going to have those expectations to contend each and every year. We know he gave up a lot of home runs last year, and he pitched half his games at Busch Stadium. Who's to say that he doesn't pitch in some of those situations at Fenway and give up more home runs, and maybe his ERA, instead of being in the low 4s, it's in the mid 4s. And maybe Richard Fitz, instead of having an ERA at 5, it's in the high 4s. And suddenly you're like, yeah, from like a cost valuation perspective, the Cardinals could make out pretty good in this. I'm not even telling you that Richard Fitz is going to have 30 starts for the Cardinals. Like, I think he will start some games. I don't know if he'll pitch well enough to start all the games in 2026, but I do think it's, again, the type of move that with where the Cardinals are, you certainly take it.
This from Samuel Howe asking Palante to the pen if Matthews is ready. I'm telling you right now, looking at everything the way it sits right now, Andre Palante is your 3rd starter as of today, as of right now.
But it's not Thanksgiving yet.
Right.
There's going to be another Palante. There's going to be another Dick Fitz. There's going to be more guys like that. You talked about it, Joe, when you were talking about John King. You said it's about innings, and you counted up how many innings they're going to have to fill. I think you get more guys like this to where you're not really overly sweating whether a guy is a starter or reliever. Like, he's a pitcher of innings for this Cardinals team. And if he comes in and pitches the 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th inning after Andre Palante only goes 2, or after Richard Fitz only goes 2 1/3, then sometimes that's what it's going to be. But they're going to want more guys that I think are capable of doing that. And they can do-si-do the roles all they want to. But it's going to look and feel a little bit different. I don't think we're going to be talking about a Cardinals rotation where, the same 6 guys pitch every game of the season like we saw this past year. It's going to be cobbled together a little bit more than that. But as long as they go out and get additional arms that have demonstrated the ability to cover major league innings, then that's okay. And again, Cardinals fans, this is not me going, oh, suddenly they're a playoff team. No, they're going to lose more games today in 2026 as a result of the move that just happened. Sonny Gray traded to the Boston Red Sox. If you're just joining us, that is the widely reported deal, as the Cardinals get a couple of arms back and they'll send $20 million Boston's way. But that's the nature of what this was always going to be, right? Today should not come as a surprise to any Cardinal fan that have been plugged into the shows that we've been doing, plugged into the way that Chaim Bloom spoke about things at the end of the season press conference. This is what it was going to be the whole entire time. The good news is it happened early, and so that allows you to then move on to some of the other things that you, being the Cardinals front office, are looking to accomplish the rest of the way.
I don't think MLB Shop's going to let you make a Dick Fitz jersey.
No, I think Fitz will just be fine. It's just the last name is usually how they do that, Joe. But I'm scrolling Twitter as we're going here, and lots of people are
Players Weekend. Players Weekend. You can put a lot of stuff on there.
I don't really know if they do that anymore. But anyway, I think it's a good move for what you could have expected to happen. Again, if the premise of the offseason is Cardinals aren't necessarily getting better. They're reorganizing. And for folks who didn't like the way that 2025 went because they didn't go far enough into the rebuild category and they had too many bloated veterans and things of that nature, you're seeing that it's going to be different in 2026. Maybe you'll consider that refreshing. I've been hearing from Cardinals fans for years that, we're tired of being stuck in the middle. And so get ready to be on the bottom potentially. I think by the time we get to spring training, we'll still be able to squint and say, hey, this rotation could maybe be top 20. And maybe if this lineup can see a couple of guys step forward, they can be top 15 and the Cardinals might squint and make a 79 wins happen. Like, we'll find the optimism where we can. But realistically, as much as it's refreshing, as John mentions, it's not necessarily going to lead to immediate results. But I think the point of this is to kind of clear out the clutter from the last era of Cardinal baseball as things kind of sputtered to a finish under John Mozeliak and start anew. And this is obviously the first step of doing that.
Agree with Garrett here. Chip Carey's just going to have, oh God. Yeah.
It's beautiful.
I know.
When Dick Fitz fires pitch number 69, oh, what can you say? I mean, what can you say that Chip Carey won't say? Because he'll just, you can imagine. With
the move of Sonny Gray, this is one point that we had kind of were hitting on. I know we touched on it over the weekend when we talked about a hypothetical trade of Sonny to the Mets, and we had talked about it in the past about Sonny Gray and what the I guess the way you had to work a trade with him, that if he had started making his way down to Jupiter, you weren't trading him. Like, he's very set in his ways that it was that you had to go about this delicately in order to move him. Getting this done before Thanksgiving is very fitting, I think, of everything that we have been saying about the way to get rid of trade away Sonny Gray, because now it's one of those things where the holidays, right before the holiday season begins, it's one less thing that Sonny Gray has to worry about. The timing of this,
he knows where he'll be.
Absolutely perfect. That Chaim Bloom, when we were sitting here wondering last week if it was Donovan or Arenado that had to be priority number one. Now we see that, hey, you know what? To make Sonny Gray comfortable, we're getting him out of here as soon as possible, and then move everything else from there.
And to have done it while still getting exactly what you hope the Cardinals would get. Like, I'm not putting Richard Fitz or Brandon Clarke on a pedestal and saying, like, the Cardinals are going to win the World Series with these guys. But you have to be realistic in what was possible. And in the realm of what was possible, I think Chaim Bloom did a great job here. Getting an arm that they're going to use next year, getting a lottery ticket that could turn into something greater. Maybe he doesn't. Like, I know he's well rated in the Red Sox system. He's got great, strikeout per innings pitched, but that's still at the low levels of the minors. Gave up a bunch of runs. And so that, there's an aspect of this where Brandon Clarke never really materializes, but he's a hard thrower. Like you said, within the last couple of weeks, there's articles being written on MLB.com of why he could be a breakout prospect this next season. So certainly something that'll be worth the read as we get into learning exactly who Brandon Clarke is. Just reading from this article, evaluators are split on whether Clarke will stick as a starter in the majors. He has room to fill out his frame, build up stamina, although bigger concerns are his lack of control and an effective third pitch. So it sounds like he's a two-pitch pitcher who throws hard, who has not really been able to get it figured out with what a third pitch looks like. But, man, he can strike out guys when he can find a way to put it in the zone. And a lot of times with these pitching prospects, it's one or the other. You're going to have great stuff. You're going to be a hard thrower who doesn't really have command, or you're going to be a pitch maker who tops out at 88, right? And for years, the Cardinals and their fans have kind of complained and said, well, we don't really have swing and miss. Okay, here's a guy with swing and miss. They're going to have to develop him, and that's the whole point of guys like Larry Day and Rob Serfolio brought in by Chaim Bloom. They're going to try to develop this guy into being something more. And that's the raw materials that you could, the best raw materials you could hope for is a guy throwing 100 and, has good stuff, but very raw. And then you try as a development staff that knows what you're doing to get the most out of that player and develop him into a big league contributor. That's going to be the goal with Clarke and with Fitz. Hopefully they're able to add a thing or two to his repertoire to be able to make him even more effective after he pitched to a 5 ERA in the big leagues last year.
We have more breaking news. I do have Chip Carey's reaction to this. Stefan said that he just told him, and he said his face lit up right like a Christmas tree.
That's the best. That's the best thing.
Also reports of excitement for a relief pitcher that the Cardinals picked up yesterday as well. So
Scott.
Yeah.
Got
so
me.
Big holiday week for down in the Carey household.
It's Chip Carey's world. We're just living in it at this point.
I am interested
Chip Carey
to see
might his time bloom on the forehead. Just to be like, thank you. This is exactly what we needed. We got energy now for this 2026 season. Thank you, Heim. It's so good.
I am interested to see where Brenden Clarke will fall into the Cardinals pipeline. As we said, he is was the fifth prospect for the Red Sox this past season. To put that into perspective, the number 5 rated prospect for the Cardinals is Quinn Matthews. Number 6 on that list is Jimmy Crooks. So just to give you an idea of where he would fall in line if that was with the Cardinals. So MLB has not updated it yet. I didn't see an overall number on Brenden
That's great
Clarke,
though.
so.
Like, we know the Red Sox have a good system. Now, a lot of their prospects graduated last year, and so that moves everybody else up the list a little bit. But like, Red Sox are known to have a pretty good system, and I would say Brenden Clarke, definitely a guy with serious high upside, right? So that's the takeaway for me with this one.
As Rocky will point out, if you do go and read the notes on Brenden Clarke, he had Tommy John surgery in high school. So our the lefty that's hitting triple digits junior year of high school had Tommy John, so has gone through that process already. One of those where I it's such a coin flip with anybody, whether you've had it or not. It's a case by case basis.
You can have it again. I mean, that lasts for however many years, but that's not to say that he couldn't have another instance where he needs it. But yeah, that doesn't like deter me. I don't suddenly hear that news and go, oh, I don't like him anymore. No, I think like that's a nice piece. You won't see him this year, but again, the reason people are writing articles about him and say he could be a breakout prospect is because he kind of toiled around in high A, striking out a bunch of batters, but not really having a ton of success. What if he goes back there, he hones in the command, and boom, he's going to Double A. Boom, he's going to Triple A. By August, he's knocking on the door. Like, that could be something that happens with a player of his caliber if he figures it out. The upside is there, and there's room for the bottom to drop out of a player with upside that's very raw. But what Cardinals fans have been asking for is give me somebody with upside. Give me somebody that I can dream on a little bit, and that's what Chaim Bloom is doing here.
Jeff Jones tweeted out, as you mentioned, Cardinals, or as we've talked about, Cardinals are considering Kyle Leahy being a starter right now. That's what they have listed at their website. He is one of the 5 in the rotation. So that is again, something that we already kind of figured was the case. Also, Jeff Jones tweeting out that they're going to be shopping for more starters, as he
and that's
he said too, which
precisely what I said earlier. Is you get more guys like Richard Fitz, guys that if you're a contending team, are you thrilled to say he's going to start 30 games for me just based on looking at his numbers so far? No, not really. But what if you have 3 of those guys, and now you've got 7 that include Palante, McGreevy, Liberatore, Leahy? Okay, now we're talking about something. Now, when one of them gets blown to smithereens in the Grapefruit League, you don't have to be like, well, shit, this guy's on our team. No, he might start in AAA, or he might go to the bullpen. It's having that ability to maneuver with some of these spots in the rotation and on the roster. That's what the Cardinals will be afforded by trading away the veterans that can't go back and forth. You thought the Memphis shuttle got worked out before. Let me tell you, boy, like, this is going to be that type of year, and that's okay. That's what it should look like for a Cardinals team that is not necessarily expected to contend in 2026. Zachariah, though, does not appear to like the trade. Boston gave us nothing for Sonny. So here's the thing, Zachariah. The Cardinals were beholden to pay $40 million to Sonny Gray. That they didn't come at this from a ground zero. They came at it from a bit of a detriment. We're like, we owe a player $40 million that isn't going to be worth that in 2026 to pitch for us. Like, the open market's going to decide he wouldn't be paid $40 million if he had to sign a contract today. That was part of the deal when they backloaded it. But guess what? They paid him only a little bit in year one. They paid him a little bit more in year two. And then in year three, what they left room for always was, we can trade him away. We can trade him away and not have to pay the entire cost of the deal if we don't like where we're at. So, no, I don't think the Cardinals got nothing in return. They didn't get anything that's necessarily going to be a future all-star. They got a chance for that with Brenden Clarke. But you have to understand, they didn't come from this from a position of strength relative to what Sonny's contract obligation was. That was their obligation. They agreed to that contract. The fact that they get out of half of it and get a couple of guys back in return that they'll hopefully be enjoying far beyond when Sonny Gray is seeing his contract elapse at the end of the season, that's a good trade under the circumstances. You have to contextualize it.
And this is, as we start to wind down here, Brenden, the comment up on the screen right now, fitting of what I was going to ask towards the end.
Okay.
Ellipsis saying, I'm good with the trade. I thought Sonny was a bit of a prima donna, didn't like to pitch when it was too hot, too cold, too wet.
Yeah.
He was real particular in going through his pregame, all this pregame routine, and didn't like when anything was thrown off. And let me tell you, there's a hell of a lot of baseball players throughout the history of time that have been just like Sonny Gray. He was nothing new to the game of baseball when it came to that. So I will ask you, the Sonny Gray era in St. Louis.
Yeah.
How will you remember it?
Yeah, I mean, he was an interesting guy for sure. Maybe nothing new, but in the upper echelon of guys who were interesting for sure in sort of the way that he goes about things. I don't even say that in a negative way. I think the Cardinals, maybe they didn't know quite the degree to which he was the way that he was when they signed him, but I think they probably had an understanding that this is a guy that likes things in a particular way. And look, he got results doing that. He didn't land on the injured list in 2 years with the Cardinals in his mid-30s for an arm injury, right? He had the hamstring thing crop up at the beginning of year one, got over it very quickly, and then was just healthy, was solid. Ellipsis mentions when he was good, he was good. He was very good. When he was bad, he was very bad. Yeah, he gave up home runs. Like, that was probably a weird aspect of his tenure with the Cardinals that you wouldn't have anticipated it coming in based on his recent seasons and the fact that he got to play half his games at Busch. So that was peculiar, but there was a lot that was kind of peculiar about the Sonny experience. And I don't even really say it in a bad way. It's disappointing they couldn't win more games with him. But at the same time, when they signed him, it was part of that offseason where they were trying to plug up the boat with the Flex Seal tape. And that was the offseason where they also got Kyle Gibson and Lance Lynn. Sonny was the kind of higher ticket item from that offseason. The way the contract was structured was always baked in for them to maybe not have to pay the full sum. That's why they backloaded it, in my opinion. And that was kind of their escape clause. And they end up using it here today with getting a couple of arms that are hopefully going to be serviceable to them at worst. And yeah, the Sonny Gray experience was what it was. You know, he was not the reason that the Cardinals didn't get over the hump these last couple of years. He's kind of the last vestige of what the Mozeliak era was, where they were trying to swim upstream and throw money at situations where, you know, there were deeper problems to be able to get the Cardinals where they wanted to ultimately go. And so now Chaim Bloom comes in and they're going to do things a little bit differently. But no, I like Sonny Gray. The team will be less interesting to cover because you never really knew what you were going to get from him. But yeah, the prima donna thing, I don't really like. I think he comes by every single way that he is very honestly. Prima donna says to me, like, I'm too good for this. I don't really need to deal with the rules that you guys want to put for me because I'm this big shot. He came by it honestly. He did everything he did because it's the way he's wired. And I think it is part of the reason he produces the results that he does over the many years. So I don't want to denigrate his character in that regard. I think Sonny Gray is as true blue, like honest to who he is as anybody that you're going to find. And he kind of wore that on his sleeve a lot of times, which I hope that Cardinals fans did appreciate. Even if you thought, well, why is he asking to leave a game after 5 innings and Ollie Marmol has to take him out, then Ollie takes the blame? Like, why is that happening? It's just the way that he is. And like with any player in sports, you take the things you like with the things that maybe you have to work around. And that was how it was with Sonny Gray. But I don't think that means he can't go to Boston and continue to be very successful. This dude's been doing it for a long, long time, the way that he has been doing it. And I'll be rooting for him in Boston. I hope he does well.
Yeah, no, again, I think the Cardinals did a great job with this trade to kick off everything that we are going to be seeing this hot stove season. Already the second biggest trade that we have seen throughout all of MLB, with the Rangers and Mets swapping middle infielders, Brandon Nimmo and Marcus Semien the other day. So it's off to a nice little start here before Thanksgiving. Hopefully a lot more trades come our way, and if they happen with the St. Louis Cardinals, we will come to you live with our Card Central instant reaction show, and we will keep you up to date on all of the latest news. Make sure that if you are watching this right now on Twitter or Facebook, you go over to the YouTube page and you hit subscribe. You make sure notifications are turned on, because whenever something breaks, we're going to be coming on. I think we were on 10 minutes after John Heyman broke the news today, getting you all of the information you needed on Sonny Gray to the Boston Red Sox. That'll do it for us. More coverage coming up later on this afternoon. Randy Carricker will be in and live at 3:00. So jump on into that chat and hear what Randy has to say, and check out all of the other content that we have, not only on our YouTube page, but also on STL Sports Central. Brenden, I imagine you'll be sitting there and writing something up on this move here over the next day or two.
Oh yeah,
giving even more thoughts and more research into that than what we've given you over the last hour here of instant reaction on STL Sports Central. He is Brenden Schaefer. I'm Joe Roderick. Thanks a lot to Matt Rocchio and Grant Salzman for helping us behind the scenes here. We will talk to you next time right here on STL Sports Central, and all of our content brought to you, as always, by DraftKings, where the crown is yours.